على رسول الكريم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So we continue on the chapter of the Mayyit. After Salat, the chapter of Salat, this is the end of chapter on Salat. So Salat al-Janaza, which will be mentioned next week. So we mentioned Ghusl last week, the Ghusl of the deceased. And now we're talking today about the Kafn of the deceased, meaning the shroud of the deceased. And then next week will be the Salat, and then burial and matters related to that. And that will finish the chapter section on the ahkam, the ruling related to Salat. And after that will be Kitab, chapter of Zakat will commence, inshallah ta'ala. And if you look at in terms of the Masail, it's like a quarter of the book is related to Tahara and Salat. Quarter of the book is of Hadith collection, Muwatta, is related to Tahara and Salat. And then the other one quarter is like the rest of Ibadat sort of, and then business dealings and all those things, inshallah, will eventually, Allah give us tawfiq to cover. Bi-idhnillah. Alright. So the Kafn, it is the Sunnah Kafn, that is to wrap the person in three cloths, or a shirt and a upper garment and a lower garment, and to wrap the person simply in one sheet in the case of necessity. So absolute minimum for necessity, where you can't get the full enough material, then at least one cloth should be there to cover the person, shroud. This is after, of course, washing the body, as explained previously. Obviously, there are much more riwayat, narrations, much more details you find in fiqh books, because that takes in consideration all the narrations. So Imam Malik narrated from Hisham bin Urwa, who narrated from his father, Urwa, who narrated from his auntie, Aisha radiallahu anha, the wife of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the mother of the believers, our mother, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his kafan, his shroud, was three clothing. White, sahuliya, which is a type of cloth which I explained from Yemen, and there was neither in it a shirt nor a turban, right? In those three pieces of material. Imam Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab, who narrated from Humayd ibn Abdurrahman, who narrated Abdurrahman ibn Auf, who narrated from Abdurrahman bin Amr ibn As, that he said that the deceased is given a shirt and a lower garment. Qamis meant like an upper garment, a shirt, and a lower garment, and a third piece of material, a piece of cloth. And if there isn't, then at least one sheet should be there. I said, Shah Waliullah Rahimahullah says, like that, Yahya bin Yahya said, narrated from Abdurrahman ibn Amr, and that was an error on his behalf, or mistake, and the correct is that what is narrated from Abdullah bin Amr. Sahul is Jama' plural Sahal, is white clothing. Sahul was a village in Yemen, and this white material was attributed to that place. It's a very white cotton linen material, right? So it's a white clothing, white sheets, or white material, cotton clothing. It is sunnah for the man to be wrapped up in three lafa'if, three sheets basically, right? So, and it is permissible to have a shirt for him and a turban. The Hanafi says that it's sunnah to have the lower garment. Izar means, it says izar, I say lower garment. It's translated differently, it doesn't really work. Sarong. So, because we have these words in different languages, because those cultures wear this, the closest we have probably in English is a kilt, Scottish kilt, which is not really a lungi, but it's like a lungi, men wear that, right? So that's probably the closest that exists in probably the Anglosphere, or the Anglo world. But anyway, sarong, lungi, it's a sheet that wraps the lower body. Sarong is the closest because of Indonesia, probably, for us in Australia, because we're probably more aware of it, that terminology. But the point being, so they translate as waistcloth or undergarment and lower garment. basically a sheet that's wrapped in like ihram. So the bottom part of the ihram is called the lungi or izar, right? So is there like a lower garment? So when in the ihram we talk, there's different ways. There's ikhtilaf amongst imams about how the kafan is done, right? So some would just say just 3 sheets, that's it. Others say no, like there's a shirt type. A shirt means like a poncho. There's a circle cut and it's folded over. Is that the way you do it here? Yeah. So that's a qamis, but it's not a qamis like the way which will come later on. Some have preferred that later. Of course, it's not a shirt in this way we understand a shirt. Later ulama they added to this. They said that for an alim to have a turban and 2 covers. The Hanafi scholars, Shah Waliullah said, I say that Hanafis say that to combine the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha and Abdullah bin Amr radiallahu anhu, that a shirt is done and a lower garment, a lungi is done, and he's wrapped up as well, and therefore it becomes 3. So you've got 3 garments. So they're combining 2 hadiths, 3 garments, 3 pieces of cloth. One is a shirt, one is called a lower garment, and but it's basically a shorter cover, like a wrap. So you got a shirt, sort of goes over. It really is a wrap more than it is a shirt. And if you have a funeral service like near you, like we have in our masjid here, then you can ask the person; they can show you what it looks like, right? The next section is about perfuming the kafan and perfuming the deceased. Imam Malik narration Hisham and Urwa narrate Asma bint Abi Bakr that she said to her family that to put bukhur on the cloth of her is if I die, then do bukhur, perfume, like scent, use the incense for my kafan, but not on my so yeah, that to do the then put the perfume, do the smoke on the kafan and do the hunut, perfume the mix on me, but not and don't follow me but don't put the perfume on the kafan. So this, you understand? So she requested that smoke the kafan, perfume the body for the ladies that she's giving instruction to the family, perfume the body, but do not put perfume on the kafan, right? And do not follow me with the fire. Shah Waliullah said it is mustahab, it's rewarded to make a bukhur, to perfume incense on the kafan, and do tahneet, do hunut, perfume on the mayyit, and according to the people of knowledge. He's one of the great Fuqaha of Madinah Munawwarra, and Abdullah bin Abbas, Abdullah bin Zubair radiallahu anhu's younger brother. He was a tabi'i, he wasn't a sahabi. His brother sahabi, father sahabi. Asma binti Abu Bakr mentioned, this is the family, right? So they it's not, and one of the imams, the scholars of the very interesting. Urwa bin Zubair was very, very. So this is Hisham bin Urwa narrated. He said, I never saw my father. So look at the dalil that's been presented, that one of the jurists of Madinah Munawwarra, these are the children, grandchildren of Sahaba radiallahu anhu, people that grew up in front of Sahaba and time the Khulafa Rashideen, and said he never saw him. And it was already backed up before by Rasulullah's own actions, Sahaba action, then the Imams of the second generation, that how their amal is there. And this is very important for Imam Malik, because one of the pillars, if you say the pillar of Imam Malik Rahimahullah's madhab, fiqh school, is the amal of Ahl Madinah. But it's not talking about anybody in Ahl Madinah. These are fuqaha and jurists and children, grandchildren, Sahaba. They learned their deen in Masjid Nabawi from Khulafa Rashideen and so forth. So he said, then they came to Baqi, and they said he would sit until the procession passed. Imam Malik narrated from Ibn Shihab that he said that walking behind the janazah is a contradiction of the sunnah. Walking behind the janazah is like, what are we doing behind the janazah? Driving. We're driving. It's different. Yeah. So it's we're actually we're on a ride, right? So Shah Waliullah Rahimahullah says, upon this is Imam Shafi Rahimahullah, the Hanafis go to that to walk behind is virtuous. As for a rider, all of them say they should walk behind it. So there's a difference of opinion about riding and so forth. Some say that all of them should be in front, and say the walker should be behind, and the walker should be in front and the rider should be behind, and so forth. So anyway, the carrying of the janaz to Medina. Imam Malik narrated from more than one mimman yathaq that are reliable, that Sa'ad ibn Waqqas radiallahu anhu, Sa'id and Zayd ibn Amr bin Nufail, they both died in Aqiq, so it's away, and they were carried to Madinah Munawwarra. They were transported from another town outside, and they were transported to Medina to be buried there. Shah Waliullah says, in Minhaj, it is mentioned that it's haram to transport a dead to another country, or another balad and akhir, to another land. Balad doesn't, in the old world, doesn't mean a country the way we understand countries, to another community, another area, right? And others say it's makruh, unless they're very close to Makkah or Medina or Bayt al-Maqdis. This is exemption, like they're in the vicinity of it, right? In Fatawa al-Mgiri is mentioned there is nothing wrong with transporting a dead before burial a mile or two, right? And وَقِيلَ لَا بَأْسَ بِالنَّقْلِ وَلَوْ إِلَى مِصْرَ آخَرَ. Some say there's nothing wrong with it if it's transported to another city or town. Now, how many days journey is that? What will happen to the body? So just for our knowledge, we don't facilitate this. Sometimes a person dies here, all the families in Pakistan, and they insist. It's a very high expense to transport the body. It's unnecessary because they think that they don't know, like, that we have our own cemetery, we have ghusl places. In Muslim countries, they have a perception that if you die, you get buried with the kuffar, no ghusl, no janazah, nothing. When you speak to them, say, listen, we don't facilitate this and we don't encourage it. Also, what most people don't know is what's done to the bodies. Like they're embalming the bodies. Do you have any experience? Because I talked to some, this has happened to very big ulama who died in the West. Unfortunately, or not even the West, outside, they died in a non-Muslim country, non-Muslim minority country. They passed away, and their body was like, it's an alcohol solution that they put through, and there's a lot of bihurmati, there's a lot of the sanctity, the hurma of the body, the Muslim is violated. Because they're going to take him back to Saudi Arabia, they're going to take him back to Pakistan. There's a village in Pakistan, I won't say where. Even if you die in Makkah, they'll take you back to the village, their village in Pakistan. I won't say which village it is, but it's famous. Doesn't matter where you die in the world, they'll make sure the deceased is transported back to their village to be buried in the village. So the joke says, even if you die in Makkah and Medina, they'll transport you back to their village. But this is an unnecessary expense. And then the body is violated, like in the way it's treated, and the embalming and the process and the chemicals that are put through. There's a chemical that's injected into the body. I can't think up, subhanAllah, I hope I get it all. So because of these things, and it's unnecessary, Islamically unnecessary, and there is a discouragement for it. And these aqwal, because when they say qila and qila, right? Qila is like someone said, right? He's quoting it. But usually when qila is said, it's usually a weaker position, right? Like he doesn't back it up. When ulama mention that, they're mentioning this view exists, academic view exists, or this view is an accept. Someone had this view, but this is not the majority view. Majority scholars disagree with this. That a person where he dies, that's where he should be buried, right? And we have to educate the community that we shouldn't encourage the burial of these, like, because the way it's transported and the time that it takes, and you're delaying the janazah anyway, so forth. And there's something coming up regarding that as well. The abrogation, naskh of qiyam, standing for janazahs. Imam Malik narrated from Yahya bin Sa'id, who narrated from Waqid bin Sa'ad bin Muaz, who narrated from Nafi bin Jubair bin Mut'im, from Mas'ud bin Hakam, from Ali bin Abi Talib radhiyallahu anhu, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He used to stand for the janazahs, then afterwards he used to sit for it. He would not stand for it if a janazah procession went. So Shah Waliullah said, I say, upon this is the majority of the people of knowledge, that Imam Shafi rahimahullah said, this hadith is nasikh, is an abrogator for the first hadith, which is إِذَا رَيْتُمُ الْجَنَازَةَ فَقُومُ لَهَا. So there was a hadith, there was a ruling, and based hadith, remember there's some actions that are done initially, but then they are changed later on. The previous one is mansukh, abrogated, is no longer applicable. The new ruling is the one that's applicable. That when you see a janazah, stand up for it. So one early practice of Islam was in a janazah procession, everyone would stand up for it, right? But later on, this is abrogated. This is not a hukum now. This is cancelled. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. The next section is that hastening janazah, that without noise, without like we say short, like without noise and like a circus sort of thing, that it should be, Muslims should be moved with waqar, with respect, with dignity, without people, raising their voices and talking loudly, shouting things, and like it shouldn't be like a marketplace, like a vegetable market, as you probably got been to the markets. Imam Malik narrated from Nafi', who narrated from Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that he said, hasten the janaiz, the funerals, because it is a good that you are. Make the janazah go to the grave cemetery quickly, because it's a goodness that you are putting them forward to. Because if they're a good person, then you are, they're getting their reward and they're going to a better place. And if it's a shar, then so he said, أسرعوا جنائزكم فإنما خير تقدمونه إليه أو شر تدعون عن رقابكم. Or it's an evil that you're getting over and done, finishing yourself, freeing yourself from it, removing from yourself, a burden that you're removing from yourself. So if they're bad, you get rid of them. If they're good, you put them forward for their reward. And Shah Waliullah says, alayhi, alayhi, upon this are the people of knowledge. No one should sit, the next section, no one should sit until the janazah is placed, lowered from the necks of the men that are carrying. Imam Malik narrated from Abu Bakr bin Usman bin Sahal bin Hanif that he heard Abu Umama bin Sahal bin Hanif saying that we kunna nashhadu al-janaiz fama yajzu akhiru an-nas hatta yu'dhanu. That he said that we used to witness the janaiz, the funeral processions, and no one used to sit. No one used to sit. The last of the people will not sit until they were given permission, or they sought permission, or they were given permission. So in our Fatawa al-Mugiriyah says that when the janazas are placed on the ground at the grave, there's nothing wrong with sitting, because people might be tired walking in the old days if you think about it, and also you have to dig the grave and also have to lower the body into the grave, and there's work to be done, right? That until you should not sit. What's wrong with the camera? That you should not be, it's makruh that you sit while the janazah, the funeral, the body is on the shoulders of men. The best is that you don't sit until the soil is leveled on top of the grave. So when you go to the cemetery, you should be standing until, and be part of the, obviously we're all part of it. I mean, really, it's very rare you probably see. Because in the old days, sitting was like people sat on the ground. There wasn't chairs. Like we think of sitting, the only time we sit down is on the ground. People could just sit anywhere. The farmers in Madinah Munawwarra especially, is farmers. They could sit anywhere. So like the idea of sitting, what do you mean you're going to sitting at the cemetery? Just grass and dirt there. Yeah, because that's how, they didn't have sofas in that time. They sit on the ground. That was a normal thing. So Rasulullah never sat, as far as we know, sat on chairs as we have today. There was no furniture in his house like chairs that we have today. So this was normal to sit on the ground. So people just maybe sitting. No, when it's a funeral procession, that you should stand and you should, until the soil is level, then you may sit after that. That you should not, the funeral janazah should not be followed with fire. Imam Malik narrated Sa'id ibn Sa'id al-Maqburi that Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, that he's forbade people to follow the deceased with fire. And Yahya said that I heard Imam Malik disliked it. Shah Waliullah said, upon this is the people knowledge, وَكَانَ ذَلِكَ مِنْ عَمَلِ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ. This was an act of the people of Jahiliyyah. They used to follow it, like it was a compulsory thing they used to do, to follow the deceased with a fire. The next section starts about the Salatul Janazah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do apologize if anything's missing from the video, because for those who watch it online, the camera is acting up. I think it's time to invest in a new camera. Jazakumullah khaira. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallah bihamdi, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta.